Okay, welcome everybody to this live stream. You can't see me at the moment, but I am going to just set up the camera. So I've started it. Welcome. Hello everybody. Give me a shout out in the chat if you can hear me, just to know that it's working. While I sort out the camera on my side, as well as just organize my stream. So hopefully you can hear me in the chat. You can hear me? Fantastic. It's going to be one of those. Okay, great. Great. I am just literally trying to set up the camera for some reason. I don't understand why, but it is giving me some grief. All right. Let's get back to sorting out this camera. Please work. I don't know why, but it's overlaying show in all scenes. Okay, now I understand what the problem is. Okay, fine. Show in current scene. So now I'm gonna have to reorganize everything. So let's see how this works. Yay, I am getting it to work. Good news. So now I'm alive. Hello. You can see me. Then you can see that. Then you can see the live stream. Fantastic. There's a slight delay on my end over here, but nonetheless, well, not on my end, but in terms of it. Okay, excellent connection. We've got 27 people. Let me bounce back to the main screen. And holistic living reflected design. The universe is initiating change for me on this day. That's exciting to hear. Jack of Diamonds, welcome. Hello, hello. I've been listening and re-listening to all previous videos. That's amazing. Happy Equinox and an astrological new year. Absolutely, Astra. How you doing, Cara? Hey, Adrian. Jubilee. Hey, I'm so happy to reconnect to the space. Simon and Jen, thanks for all your work. Appreciate it. Linda, thanks so much for these live streams and keeping us up to date. Absolutely, not a problem. Well, in one way, it's a kind of binary, right? Both you wanting to be receptive to it in some way, or that there's a need, and then me being able to fill that need from my own design. So in many ways, it's a binary. Okay. So thank you to you guys. You can hear me. Yes, that's great. Hey, Francis. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Florencia, how you doing? Hey, Michaela. I hope that's okay. I know that's your internet name. Trina, all the way from Vancouver. Nice to see Irina. We've got Karis. Hey, Karis. So good to see you. Hey, Karen. Long time no speak. Hey, Lena. Shena. Hey, Elkie. It's okay. Hey, Diana. Sweet. Everybody's got these little cool little icons over there. So one of the things about these live streams that's interesting is that this kind of like Libra in me that needs to meet this expectation. It's like, oh, I got to, provide something amazing for us today, and I just have to trust that process. But being very real about where I'm at. Jasmine, hey Simon, we cannot hear you loud and clearly enough. Our volume is at 100%. Okay, so let's do that check. Right, let's do that sound check. So at the moment, that's where the mic is. So I know you've been following me quietly. Anna, you're learning EA with me. Amazing. I love this energy today. Indeed, very fresh, alive. So let's do a sound check quickly. From 1 to 10, would you say that the sound is at like a 7? Does it also fluctuate? I've had some issues where it sometimes fluctuates. I can just adjust the microphone on my side. Maybe I can turn it to like that. Maybe that sounds better. Okay. An 8? Doing great. Sweet. A 10. Wow. 10. Celestial Infinity and number 6. Number 10. Okay. That's cool. Alrighty. So that's good to hear. I've put it at a decent level on the program software I'm using at the moment. So hopefully that it's a bit low. Yes, this is a very, David, that's a very Saturn and Pisces kind of comment. Yeah, definitely. We are waking up to humanity's separation. Okay. All right, so I think we're gonna kick it off. We've got loads of people up. I'm glad that you are all here. How's the new moon been for you? If I'm not mistaken, it's happening. Let me just double check the charts. Let's do this. So it's forecast. I can't see it. It will switch to me. No, I cut out the time. Oh well. All right. 12 minutes. Yes. So we are 2 days away from Pluto in Aquarius, because we all know that in astrology, on the exact day that it happens, it officially means that now the planet is officially in that sign, and so therefore the effects of that sign immediately take over, right? That's great to hear, Michaela. And the work that we've been doing in the EA mentorship, has that helped or contributed in some way to the conversation? Jupiter return for Kara, exactly. All right. Okie dokie. I think we've allowed some time for people to join. Astrology isn't spiritual? I'm curious to understand your question. Hey, Michaela. All right. So I think what we'll do is we will go to some chart work, just kind of talk about the astrology, and then from there we'll circle back and we will, discuss, have some Q&A amongst each other. Hey, Tamik, good to see you. How's things over there in Beirut? You can definitely feel that Saturn and Pisces transit at the moment. Yeah, I agree with you, David. Your natal moon's at 0 degrees Aries. Very excited. Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, it's not so fun, to be honest. I hope that that something really profound comes out of it. Yeah, I think there's an important need to separate from the patterning per se. I agree with you. I suppose the position that I come from when it comes to the astrology, I mean, in the mentorship that I do with the people talking about evolutionary astrology, a big part of the work is to understand how descriptive astrology can help us in a certain way, but then when we begin to integrate the soul into the context of an astrology reading, an astrology conversation, then we're not actually using astrology anymore per se. That's the language or the model that we use. We're tapping more into the way that the building blocks of reality exist. So it can be a vehicle, and absolutely is a vehicle amongst many other vehicles, to help people connect to themselves, which then allows for their deeper self to emerge. So in that sense, I understand what you mean, or I see what you're saying there, and it's good to make that distinction. But there's something beyond that process that responds to what David was talking about, which is astrology is love, in the sense that working in the cosmos, we're all in a conversation with it. That's amazing, Francis. New opportunities popping up for my whole household. That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, let's do this. Let's take a deep dive into what I have in store for us. I'm going to kind of walk us through this in a very slow way. Hopefully we can get some information that can help you in some sense. And any questions you got, please feel free to ask them after that. I'm sure there's some time. So let's do it. Let's take a look at the information I have for us today. So we'll start off here. And Jen created this thumbnail, and I think it just perfectly explores and explains the nature of how the energy is alive for us at the moment. There's something new that is beginning for us, absolutely, right? And that's that center point. There's a natural transition from Pisces to Aries, and that natural transition from Pisces to Aries reflects the process of coming out of the womb and into something deeper, into something new, right? So in a way, I'm sure many of you have experienced nostalgia as a way to make contact or connect with the phasing out of an old cycle and the preparation and emergence for something new in your life. That's kind of the dynamic that's taking place at the moment. Okay, so we're looking at the chart of the new moon in Aries, and it's there. It's at 0 degrees, which to me is kind of interesting, right? Aries is about new beginnings, and here we have this new moon that sits here in Aries. And if I'm not mistaken, there's actually another new moon in Aries that's going to be taking place this month, or next month. So, 2 new moon in Aries, that's pretty phenomenal. There's clearly a sense that something new is on the horizons for us if Aries has decided that it wants to take up both of, it wants to take up space. It wants to say, hey, I want to do this twice. I want to know if they're going to get the picture. So just looking at the symmetry of this chart, you can begin to kind of sense already the nature of what type of energy is available for us, right? Everything has come out of Pisces in terms of the moon, Mercury, and the sun. And while all of that comes out of Pisces, you see Saturn emerge into it. Okay, so that's an interesting dynamic that I definitely want to bring in. And then, the green arrow on the chart over here indicates Pluto at 29 degrees. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when a planet arrives at the 29th degree or the 28th degree, 30th degree, it symbolizes what, right? It symbolizes that there is a culmination or an ending of something, and it is a preparation for something new to begin. And just what David was talking about earlier, when astrology is love, the workings of the cosmos. I mean, come on. How do you not look at the symmetry of this chart and tell me that there's something unreal going on over here? Like, there's a planet that's literally at the end, and then you see all these planets that have just left Pisces ready for something new. Like, we're literally about to enter a new sign in 2 days. Pluto's already been preparing for this Aquarius energy. It's very salient right now. We do live in a world where that Aquarius energy is starting to bubble up to the surface. It won't be for long, because we're going to be working out some stuff first, but it's here, like since 2008, right? Just think about that. Since 2008, Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn, and we are 2 days away from a moment of Pluto entering a new sign for us collectively, right? This is a big deal. And so it's not like, there's nothing complicated about looking at this chart. There's something very simple about the sense that there's a whole bunch of Aries energy. We're preparing for something new. And both Saturn entering Pisces and Pluto entering Aquarius indicates something that is starting a new story for us, right? We're about to start a new story for us. Okay, so just kind of looking at the symmetry of the chart. The other thing that I wanted to bring into question is, look at Mars sitting at 28 degrees of Gemini, right? That red arrow that sits there. And we all know that Mars has been in the sign of Gemini since August. So let's just let that sink in for a moment. Mars, which generally takes, right, just under 3 weeks, mostly, depending, to move through a sign, 2 weeks, 3 weeks will move through a sign, has spent almost 7 months in one sign, in one astrological sign. So, my brain just kind of looks at that and says, why? And what's the significance of it? And you can see that, look where Mercury is in the chart. It's sitting there at 5 degrees of Aries. So if we just play this observation game with the chart over here, right, we step into just kind of looking at the symmetry of this chart. It speaks to us in such a very clear way. Mars sitting at 28 degrees of Gemini. It's about to leave a 7-month cycle in a sign and enter a new sign, which I'm sure many of us are going to be like, woohoo, finally. And it's also at the end of a cycle, right? Pluto's at an end of a cycle. Mars is at an end of a cycle. You've got Saturn that's beginning a cycle, but it's in a sign that talks about closure. The nodes are preparing to move into a shift into a new set of signs, right? I mean, that's it. Like, you can clearly see that there is a culmination element that is occurring, as well as preparation for something new to begin. Sometimes it doesn't have to be that complicated to look at the astrology in that way. We can just kind of look at the pattern and start to extract some interesting themes. So let's do this. Okay, there's a repeating theme. So I just want to follow this trajectory over here. We've got Mars, the planet that is influencing. Mars is the planet that influences Aries. So the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Chiron, and Jupiter all sitting in Aries. And Mars is the planet that rules that. And then if you look at Mars at 28 degrees of Gemini, and you look at the sign of Mercury, Mercury is in Aries, right? So there's a consistent repeating theme between this two patterning here. Mars ruling all these planets in Aries, and Mercury influencing Mars, and it repeats itself. It like bounces back to each other. So the thing that we are beginning, the thing that is stepping into something new, is the Mars energy leaving Gemini. Okay, so there's something related to Mars. Like, Mars is the key indicator in this chart. That's the new beginnings around Mars. And if you pay close attention, you'll see that Mars is sitting there at 28 and Pluto is sitting at 29 degrees. And there is what is called an inconjunct, right? Or a quincunx between Mars and Capricorn, or Mars and Pluto, Gemini and Capricorn, okay? And so there's actually a duality that is existing at the moment. There's a duality that exists in this chart. On one side, you have closure, and the other side, you have new beginnings. Gemini, duality. And the question that we face is, which side of that duality are you choosing to move? Like, which is the new and which is the old? That's as clear as it can be. Like, which is the new? What is the new? What is the old? You can feel that binary, right? There's a dual nature, two parallel realities running next to each other, and they're culminating. And one says, let's move forward with this, and the other one says, let's, resolve that and move on from that. Okay? So going with the new, precisely. And stepping into this new experience. Exactly, there is a crisis of adjustment. And to add to that, the crisis of adjustment is Pluto will share with us what feels limited, blocked, outdated. And as it moves into Aquarius, Aquarius will continue to keep creating this theme of things that feel outdated. So you'll see that in the world. You'll see that within yourself emotionally, and in the world. You'll see this sense of something feels outdated and I can't go back to that. And something feels that it needs to move forward with something. So what are you moving forward with in your life? That's the question you propose to yourself. What am I moving forward with in my life? And the question is there to invoke the emotion that you're experiencing on a deeper level, whatever that may be. And that can be something as silly as, or not as silly, but something as you've decided that this is how your work routine will be, or this is how your self-worth is going to be, or this is how you're going to relate to that, or this is a new project you want to start, or whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be massively blown out of proportion. It can be just, something simple. So something new that's present with us and stepping into that space. So Venus on the North Node, can you see there? Venus is sitting at 5 degrees of Taurus, and the North Node sitting at 4 degrees. So I want to kind of go deeper into this process here. Okay, so I think let's first talk about Aries. Okay, so the way that you can embody the Aries energy within your life, the way that you can kind of step into and not necessarily, it's not about intellectualizing these energies, but actually stepping into the action that is Aries, like really embodying the Aries archetype. And this image captures Aries to me in such a profound way. Like, let's just start with the line that is drawn there. Okay, so there's a line, and on one side there is the person, and on the other side there is, I've made the decision to cross that threshold. I'm now in the race. Yeah? I'm now in the race. Just think about that. Just feel that. Just feel that threshold that is present for you right now. Feel that line that you're ready to cross, whatever that may be. Yeah? And the Aries is the presence that this experience has. So think about it. Think about it in the sense of, where are you present with something right now in your life? Okay, this is how you consciously and somatically work with these archetypes. Right? Where's the story in your life right now where you are ready at that start line, and you're just waiting for that action, that moment, that click, the suggestion, the metaphor of the person that starts the race usually uses like that gun to make a sound, and then it ignites that bleep sound that says, yes, you're ready to go. That's what's present for us right now. There's a moment in which something is just ready to say, okay, go. And that transition from you, or from this person who's in that position of readiness, that's ready to move into something new, right? That's where you are currently. That's where you're saliently right now. And you're going to make that step. You're going to cross that. And that's what Aries is. At the core of Aries, it is that moment where we're going to cross something. We're going to step into something. We're about to begin something, a new adventure. That line even indicates the relationship between Pisces and Aries. Right? Things have been gestating for a long period of time. And this new moon indicates the potential for something new to come out of it. So again, the question that you propose to yourself is, look at your life, look at your emotional reality, and ask yourself the question, where am I ready? Where have I been ready? Where have I been behind the line, just patiently waiting for that moment to indicate, yes, I'm ready to go. Right? That's how you embody this process. So the story in your life is, where am I ready to go? Yeah? Okay. So that's that Aries energy that's sitting there. And of course, the Mercury sits there in Aries, and it signals to us the message. The message is, Let's do this. So one of the ways that this Aries energy is going to play out in a different way, of course, Aries, is being ready for something and also recognizing yourself in the process. Like a big part of this Aries energy is also initiating the reconciliation of the abandoned parts of ourselves. Right? So for a lot of people, we've lived in a culture and a society where there's a lot of messages and information that, when reinforced, gives us this idea that, there's no agency. You don't have, who are you? And you're learning how to step into that space. You're learning how to take up that space. So another way to see and to embody this Aries energy is to ask yourself, where am I ready to take up space? Where are you ready to take up space? Look around you in your life right now, whatever that may be, and take up space in that area. That's what these transits do. You have your own personal karma, and then these transits reflect activation points. So where are you ready to take something new? Where are you ready to do something new? Where are you ready to explore something new? These are components that come along with this Aries archetype. Okay, so the next question as part of this process is looking at the Venus-Taurus-Uranus dynamic. Okay, and I think it's important to address this piece. So let's go ahead and talk about the Taurus, the Venus in Taurus, the Uranus in Taurus, the North Node in Taurus. So one layer that is very salient and present for all of us in the Taurus energy is we're learning within ourselves to go into the doorway, right? To go to the place that we've had to keep hidden. And we want to retrieve parts of our personality, parts of ourselves that have felt that they've needed to belong everywhere else other than in your day-to-day life. So where have you closed the door on things, experiences, interests in your life that you've needed to do to meet the need of the environment, meet the need of to survive, whatever that is, right? We all in different ways will it's like the idea of the Minotaur. The Minotaur is in the labyrinth, and it's projected there under the idea of shame. It can't be exposed. It's horrific. It's not allowed. So my encouragement to all of us here, as this new Aries energy is available, is one of the deep emotional pieces of work that you can do is to actually not so much go inward, but to go into and open the door and free the parts of yourself that you may have disowned because somewhere along the line you were instructed to do that, indirectly or directly. So you stopped painting because somebody said to you that you wouldn't mount this, or you denied expressing a certain aspect of your personality because somehow this part of you is not, it's rejected. So there's a deep healing quality here that is salient, that is ready, that's available for this in this chart, where the Gemini is the inquiry into the parts of ourselves that we've had to hide, that we've disowned, that we keep aside because for whatever reason, whatever that message is, it doesn't matter. So this is an attempt, Pluto and Aquarius, to begin to reconcile parts of yourself that you may have lost, disowned, let go of, consciously, unconsciously, and that they can come back. You want to bring them back. You want to allow yourself to take up space in the things that you like. So maybe you're afraid to. What are you afraid to do? And I'm not talking about like I'm afraid to go rock climbing. Yeah, okay, go do that if that's the thing that overcomes that fear. But what am I afraid to do? Would I stop myself? And what you want to do is you want to look at those pieces, and you want to ask yourself, like, how can I maybe integrate one or two of these things? Because the Taurus archetype, from a perspective of integration, of returning to wholeness, of remembering ourselves, the soul, facilitates and supports and points to our inner relationship to ourselves. So it's very clear that this energy speaks to the opportunity and the presence for us to all individually within our own personal lives take up space that are in alignment with our values, and that a big part of it is to return back to your own sense of truth. That's the Pluto and Aquarius, right? The freedom to be who you are unapologetically. And each of us in some way, shape or form have got aspects of ourselves that we're afraid to let come into the light because there's a potential persecution, there's a potential judgment. You may hide the fact that you're into astrology. You may disown the fact that you are XYZ. And so the working here with this energy is to come back to the pieces that have been shamed away, rejected, hidden, and then made to be perceived as something unnatural, and to allow an actual kind of inquiry into why those things have been disowned. So the Taurus piece is actually an invitation for us to go into the hidden doors, the hidden secret passages of our psyche, and to explore rich minerals and crystals and the landscape that is inside of our own inner world. Let that thrive, let that come out, let that be part of your salient and present reality, whatever that may be. You want to tether that back to yourself. You want to bring that forward, because it's in this place where our vitality exists. So it's part of this Aries energy is not just like, oh cool, it's new energy and let's do this. It's like, no, there is this actual powerful potential for each of us to have this profound opportunity to discover parts of ourselves that have in some way, shape or form needed to be put aside, and now you don't know what that authenticity is about. You want to bring more vitality and meaning to things. You deserve it. We deserve it. And depending on where you are in the world, obviously the external situations can be deeply influential to that. But for the most part, there's an inner relationship to yourself. And that is dependent on where you are. So just that moment, just that realization that can be something like, you know what, I would love to have a more relaxing routine before I go to bed, because sleeping gives me energy for the morning to achieve the things I want to do. And so the shift can be simply the acknowledgement and the realization, the choice to say an hour or half an hour before I go to bed, what is good for me is to, not use the phone as an example, have some tea and just kind of sit in a meditation state or reflect on things that are important, whatever that may be. I don't know what it is, but you fill in those blanks there. But that's the potential that's existing here with this energy, and the moment to be ready for something new to take up, right? And so again, just kind of that in conjunct between Capricorn and Gemini is the realization that things are going to become redundant very, very fast, right? Things are going to accelerate. Things that in our society, things that any structure, any form that is part of the past, these transits are going to accelerate their senescence. So when I talked about this in the Saturn in Pisces, and I said that one of the difficulties, and let me come back to myself over here. There we go. So one of the difficulties with Saturn in Pisces is Saturn will reveal to us where things have essentially run their course, where things no longer are part of the present reality. It will just make it more, it will illuminate it more to us. So if you think about what just recently happened in America with all the banks, and then how that had a chain effect in the rest of the world, that's a great example. Like, we live in an environment in which things are happening at light speed. And so any structures and regulations within banks that don't have and can accommodate that will just simply collapse in that process. Just the same as, 40 years ago, for instance, or no, actually, let's go further back. Let's say like 90 years ago, we would write letters to each other, and that's how we would kind of communicate if we're separated. But now, I can sit here and use technology at the speed of light, Aquarius, to be able to connect with people in real time. And so information and messaging is so instant. You can just hop on and go, hey, let's listen to this new in an Aries energy. Exactly, Fanny. Exactly. So it's a great example, right? What just recently happened in France. Another example, it's like just exposing how outdated the way that we govern ourselves is existing. So that Mercury in conjunct that Mercury in Gemini, 28 degrees in conjunct with Pluto, is where we are seeing two realities that are, in a sense, one is reflecting where we are today, and the other one is reflecting which is no longer relevant anymore. And that's where the Aries energy comes in. It's like that recognition of the line, standing behind the line, saying, "Wow, this is end," and then something new and fresh is there. Okay. So let's talk about this, I think. Ta-da. Pluto and Aquarius. And it's kind of on the 23rd of March, Pluto and Aquarius is going to happen. It's going to enter it. Just to kind of preface this over here, just because Pluto officially, from an astrological, calculational perspective, lands in Aquarius on the 23rd, it doesn't mean that we have not been experiencing Pluto and Aquarius vibes. These archetypes and the way that these energies works, it's not like flipping a switch, but it's going to be official, right? From all of the calendars and calculations that we're going to put across there from at least a Western tropical perspective. So here we are, Pluto and Aquarius, which is a big deal. And, there's lots of conversations around Pluto and Aquarius. I think I've got one on the community page in the YouTube channel on talking about Pluto and Aquarius. There's many, I think I've got 2 of them, which I can repost if you want to over there. I talk about Pluto and Aquarius. I'm not going to go over it, but Pluto and Aquarius is a big deal. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I said that Pluto and Aquarius is a shift from not only us accelerating into a new time frame in which a lot of things that have always felt to us like this is what life is and reality is, it will start to become redundant. It'll be like, whoa, this is boring, or this feels empty, or this feels outdated, and this feels like it no longer has a value in this time. Like, that's what this new moon is also indicating, is that we're ready to, the energy is going to shift, and you're going to experience over the next 6 months a kind of realization of things that, and patterns and structures that just, are boring, outdated, no longer work, and we're going to have to figure out, well, we're not going to have to, you will need to adapt to a new state of frequency, a new way of relating. So that's something that's really interesting with that. And I think, the relationship between Pluto and Aquarius and the planets in Taurus at the time, right? Uranus and Venus and the North Node are indicating that participating within an environment or a group, you can feel either like extradited from, like I don't belong to this experience, or I can't fit in, or I can't integrate, or I feel that I'm participating, I'm seen within the group, I'm here, I'm interacting. And in order to be able to be in a group dynamic where you feel seen, heard, and that there's purpose, there's an attunement to your values. You need to be able to know your inner relationship to yourself and the value that comes along with it. So a big part of this work that you're doing on yourself is to come into context, come into to the value that you bring to an environment, into a situation, to your life, and tuning into that. So the question that can be proposed to us is, you know, what skills do I have? You know, what am I good at? What can I develop? What new skills can I learn? How can I improve my self-reliance, as an example? These are modes of thinking that you can invest time into that can deepen your relationship to not only tuning into the Taurus energy, but also how it facilitates the navigation for the future. Because as I said, like most of us just take things for granted, and I don't mean in a negative way, like, oh, we take things for granted, but we wake up and we just go, everything is just going to kind of be like this all the time. And this is the type of energy that will come in and will create a lot of, you know, instability in that sense. And, you know, it might shake up our comfortability in things, which can be, you know, difficult at times to from the ego's perspective to maintain. So this is also about getting to know who you are, getting to know that inner self, and actualizing that, right? Bringing something of value to the community that you participate in or belong to, or stepping forward and you know, having a voice and sharing that voice with the collective. And so this is about really getting to the core message of what that voice is for you. You know, is it an amplification of other voices, or is it an attunement and a connection to what is unique within yourself? So inquiry into that, getting to know your genesis story. Where do you come from? What's the origins of your sense of self? You know, what are the origins of you? What's your story? What's your genesis line? And that's part of your life that makes you unique in that sense. Okay. So the Fibonacci sequence over here, the fractal line that indicates the expression of time, you see it not only in the actual thumbnail to this video, but also here with Pluto and Aquarius. Time is going to change for us. The way that we relate to time is going to change for us. The way that we understand our relationship to time is changing. There was this interesting, I just got to share this because I thought it was funny. But I was listening to a video where they were talking about learning prompt engineering, right? So learning how to interact with artificial intelligence, like you know, Midjourney, Tome, ChatGPT, etc., and how when you're thinking about prompting AI and what comes back at it. And in the comments section, there's a person that had written, it said, OpenAI, which is the people that did ChatGPT and many others, had mentioned that AI will not take your jobs, right? It's not going to replace you. Artificial intelligence is not going to replace you. And then the next line was, the people that understand how to use it will. And that to me really captured this energy here as well, is that the Mercury in Gemini and the Pluto at 29 degrees entering Aquarius, that, you know, you can remain stuck in the past, and what's going to happen is that that's what will literally be there. It will just become this, you become stuck in the past. And I'm not saying that you need to understand artificial intelligence to not get stuck in the past. I mean, internally, if you're not ready to take a leap into something fresh and new within your life, you will remain in that cycle, that past life cycle, right? The one that's sitting over there, the past life cycle. And because people that are ready to emerge and take something new on, to embody that Aries energy, are going to lead with something new in their lives. You know, and it's not so much the mechanism itself, in this case, the example being AI, it's the people that are ready to be present for where we are today and not trying to hang on to past cycles. And that binary, again, is that Gemini energy. So, you know, this is something that I think is something really to contemplate and to ponder about within yourself. Like, are you ready to take that step across the line into the thing that makes you feel like, whoa, I'm actually present with my life, or I'm on a journey to self-discovery of something, or discover, you know, the deeper reality that is present with me. Okay. So let's talk Mars in Cancer. So Mars in Cancer, again, this image speaks to me clearly because the Cancer archetype, if you really connect with it, reflects the conscious awareness, or reflects, our conscious awareness, that to be conscious of a line that divides your subjective self and the external world. Okay, so there's a line, imaginary, sort of like sensory perception, that divides your internal subjective self and your relationship to the external world. So the Cancer archetype at its core is the dividing, that is the conscious recognition between the beach, right, the sand, and the ocean. It's the realization that there are two worlds emerging at one point, and then there's that moment, that space, where they two collide. And it's that salient recognition, okay? And in that process, it also speaks to our sense of self that we have in each moment, okay? So that's why you'll see and hear in astrological books, like the Cancer archetype speaks to security and in terms of one's roots and home. These can be explained further, but the origins of the archetype is the conscious sense that, you know, we're always on the edge of something, okay, between that which feels safe, secure, and stable within ourselves, so security, right, and the abyss. And you can actually see, if those of you that know about the natural zodiac, you can look at the relation. In fact, I'll actually show it to you here, right? I'll show it to you here. Do you see, if you look down at the fourth house over there, the Cancer, right at the fourth house, right, 6 o'clock position on the chart, that's where Mars is at the moment, okay? And then you see Mars is actually in a natural trine towards the Pisces archetype. So Mars is sitting at 28 degrees Gemini, and it's trining Saturn at 0 degrees, at 1 degree Pisces. That trine between Cancer and Pisces is in this image here. Let's see if I can get it up. Okay. Where that person is standing, like just where the rocks or end, that's the Cancer piece. That's this conscious, I'm standing on something, I can feel the earth is underneath me, but just on the edge of this rock over here, I'm into Pisces land. There's nothing that can protect me. Right? That is completely abyss. There's no concrete earth grounding force energy that exists there in this Piscean space. And so there's the constant relationship between the unknown and the self. So when you look at Mars in Cancer and you see that each of us, when Mars moves into Cancer on Saturday, the 25th, right, we are literally preparing to enter a space that is deeply unknown. Mars is ready to push us into a new identity, a new space, a new time, a new moment, right? That's what this is. So if you look at the chart of Mars entering Cancer, you see that Pluto enters Aquarius. It's there. Mars in Cancer. The moon has now crossed Venus. It's crossed the North Node. It's crossed Uranus. It's crossed Mercury. It's crossed Chiron. It's crossed Jupiter. So in terms of the context of the moon is actually transited all the way in this chart. Look where it is. Look where the moon is there. It's crossed Neptune. Now it's in Aries. And then when Mars enters Cancer, and why am I talking about the moon? Because the moon is associated with the Cancer archetype, right? So Moon, Cancer, same thing. Yeah, so the moon travels all the way through all of those signs and it crosses Uranus. And now we look at this chart over here. Right, that's when Mars enters Cancer. Look at the symmetry here. It's crossed Mercury. So it carries all the information from Aries and Taurus. It literally brings with it the completion of all of those planetary systems, and Mars enters that Cancer archetype and it says, okay, we're ready to shift. We're ready to rock and roll. And look, there's a trine between the moon and Pluto. So by the 25th, the moon would have crossed this area and would have brought in to our awareness the shift. So in this image here, I said, oh, we're ready for something. We're just waiting for that signal. My sense of it is when it hits that Cancer archetype here, we are ready to embrace this moment. So the question as I lead this out over here is, are you ready? Are you ready to go in? Are you ready to go in and explore the new world that is coming with this archetype? Are you ready for a new cycle? Are you ready for something new in your life? All right. I think that is what I feel deeply, and that's what's coming out of me with regards to the chart. So I really hope that landed for you in different ways. I hope that you were able to connect with it in spaces. Can I answer tomorrow? You're not allowed to answer tomorrow, unfortunately. It's closed. We have decided, Fanny, because we're the French government, that we can change the law at any point. And so unfortunately, tomorrow you can't. We're changing it today. Only today. Yes, you can answer on Friday. You can answer on Saturday, sorry. That's Mars in Cancer. All right. So yeah, we'll put that on the YouTube in shorter bursts. But yeah, I just want to spend some time. I just want to spend some time kind of connecting with you all and seeing where you're at with it, and maybe help you with a few thoughts as you're processing what I've shared. It's a lot of information, but I hope that the questions kind of landed for you in ways that you could self-reflect. You can definitely feel it. That's good. Did you see that they're discussing deep sea mining? I haven't, but that's really, really interesting. How do you feel about that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Glad to hear that, Nancy. Always welcome your support. So just the conversation we had today in the Metamorphosis was like when you were talking about what you were sharing, that's kind of a connection to the solar plexus, at least. That's what I want to share, by the way. If you are that, we have some spaces available. So I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video, plus the other videos as well. If you're interested and are looking to work with me on a more personal level, then I'm going to leave a link in the description, and I'll maybe even post it in the chat over here, and let's have a conversation. Let's see if there's a way for me to help you in some way. It's just a 15-minute free call. All you need to do is just fill out a small piece of information, like a form that just tells me exactly where you're at and what's specific for you, and then set up a call with me, and let's see if there's an opportunity for us to help you, essentially. So yeah, if that's where you're at right now and this inspires you and you're ready to do something and you want to take advantage of that, yeah, that's the type of work I do. Let's have a chat. Let's see if there's a way to connect with your needs, and if my needs and your needs meet, we can work together. And that also goes for anybody that is really serious about studying astrology and you want to actually step into more of a professional role, and you want to participate in a way of doing astrology that's kind of moving away from description based, and you want some mentorship. I'm I'm also inviting you to have a chat with me. Let me see if that's something that's viable for you and viable for me. I'll also leave a link for you to have a conversation with me. And if it's possible, let's work together. Let's see how I can support you in stepping into becoming more of a anchored in and serious astrologer as well. So I'll put some links in the description for you guys. In fact, I'll see if I can find that and I can pop that in there. All you need to do, okay, so that's, are you going to let me, it's going to do that, so I've got to do a new one. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to do this, but while I'm busy doing this over here, if you've got some questions that I can help you with, please feel free to write them. And okie dokie. Okay. So where is the chat box? It's hidden. There we go. All right, so this, I'm going to pop in the chat over here. This is where you can schedule a free call with me. Let's see if we can have a conversation to see if you want to work deeper with me. There's a few people in the chat that are actually part of this process already. And I'm going to try and look for the link for the astrology as well. Okay, so let's see. Some more questions. A link in the Apple Siri. Extra pollution. Hey, Essie. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm glad you liked it. Francis, thanks so much for the knowledge you've shared today. I'm glad to be able to be in a position to share this. I mean, I wouldn't honestly be here if there wasn't a community that was ready to want to do these types of things. Hey, Ola. Glad that you liked it. I'm definitely at the precipice of a massive changes. It's been unnerving in some ways. I bet it. In other ways, it's felt like I'm on the right track. Hearing all this helps. Good. I'm glad that that's giving you that moment of courage that's in Aries, right? That moment of, I'm just going to show up. I don't know where this is going to go. Think about the hero, like each and every one of us. Think about project yourself into the hero role and consider that as an act of stepping into something new. What's the quest that you're about to embark on? Like that's how you embody this energy. Like reflect on the quest that you are ready to embark on. And the quest is a symbol, it's a metaphor for that which you're going for. So think about it, right? Look at all films where there's a hero or a heroine journey. There's an object, there's a quest that pulls them into that hero role. And along that road, there's consistent turns and ups and downs and uncertainty and, you know, what's going to happen. But in all hero, heroine roles, there's a threshold that gets crossed. And that's where we are. We're hearing the call that's echoing, like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. It feels like excitement. But then there's this moment of going over that line and saying, beyond this space, I haven't actually been this person, so who am I? Right? So the way that you take this energy and you make it alive, you feel that it's enriching you. Think of yourself as the hero and connect to the quest. What is the object that you are called to solve? Whatever that is. And then if it's not there, that's okay. But reflect on that. Like spend some time really kind of going in, Taurus, and uncovering something that you may have lost, forgotten, told that it wasn't okay. And maybe that's the very piece that the quest is about. If that makes sense. Okay. Sandra, thank you. We'll watch it again. Let it all land. Great for a unique way of translating astrology. I appreciate that. Astrocara, yes, EA Mastery, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was amazing to work with you. I can see how much you're doing some amazing things. Perhaps the oceans is cleansing the events of the past, and that should be completed before we dig up the past. I mean, there's some truth to that. Karen, thank you. I love this work. Thank you. Stefan, comments about the metamorphosis. Yeah, man, it's been an honor to work with you. I've been trying to find the lyrics to a song that was stuck in my head and finally found them. Gosh. A different kind of love. That's the lyrics. Mentorship sounds fantastic. It is. It's truly, I feel incredibly abundant in my life right now in terms of the things that I have available to me, and sharing it is one of them. If you, Natalie, I know who you are. I've worked with you before. Just reach out with an email and I'll send you a link to, let's set up a conversation. Let's see if it's something you can do. We've got a good group of people. Something revolutionary. Okay, Sun and Aries are about to oppose my stellium in Libra in the 12th house. Uranus and Jupiter and Mercury and conjunct my Chiron. Any tips? Yes, run in the opposite direction. I'm kidding. Okay, so let me understand this correctly. You have a stellium of planets in Libra in your 12th house. Uranus, Jupiter, Mercury, and Uranus, Jupiter, and Mercury. Okay, you need to help me out here. Okay, so the Sun is about to oppose your stellium. So the Sun is transiting your 6th house. And so my brain is trying to organize where Chiron is in your chart. Are you saying that Uranus, Jupiter, and Mercury are all conjunct your Chiron? Okay, your Chiron's in Aries. Gotcha. Okay. The Sun is about to I'm sorry. The Sun is about to oppose the stellium in Libra in the 12th house, with Uranus being one of them, because Uranus is in Taurus at the moment. So is it opposing your natal Uranus, and then you've got Jupiter, Mercury conjunct your natal Chiron? Is that true? So you're a Pluto and Libra soul or a Pluto Virgo soul? Okay, cool. So let me actually bring this to the top here so it doesn't look like I'm sweet. Okay, and then if you can confirm if you're a Pluto Libra soul. I changed the Pluto Virgo. Okay, gotcha. All right, now I understand. Here's what I think. I think that without knowing the rest of your chart, because if Pluto must be in your 11th house, it sounds to me that you have experienced within your life relationships that have ended, dissolved, or changed in ways where you have not had the opportunity to resolve them in some way. So that's just one aspect of how I see the Uranus in your 12th house. Another way that I see Uranus in the 12th house is that you may actually hide away from relationships because of experiences or sensations that says relationships have been overwhelming, I'm too sensitive to them, or a lot of the times relationships I felt like I've lost my own agency. So it's kind of the sense that it feels to me psychologically you would lean more towards the people-pleasing mechanism or avoidant mechanism, right? Not wanting to be emotionally available, or that you're emotionally dependent within the context of relationships, right? So there's an isolation detachment with Pluto in 11th, and that those themes are okay. If you can confirm that for me, then I understand the context of why the soul would have these transits happen to the 6th house. So the kind of Libra story for you is Uranus in Libra is the memory of relationships having, it's one-sided, it's too extreme, and as a way to kind of cope with, so you disarm your own needs and you meet other people where they are, right? But you've lost yourself within the context of relationships. Okay, so the people pleasing, exactly. So obviously some of the work that you've probably been trying to do on yourself is to recover the part of you that has lost its agency. So what I would say to you with this Aries energy that's present right now is Libra can be too passive because it doesn't want to, like, what's the word, like, disturb the scales. So part of what I think you do is you people please because you don't want to disturb the peace, because disturbing the peace is a reflection of probably early life memory. Right? There's too much chaos. Maybe you even moved, or relationships around you were very chaotic in some way, and so it's easy to kind of keep everything together. So what I would advocate, again, just give me that feedback to let me know that's true. What I'd advocate for you here, the kind of medicine with all of the planets in Aries and your current Aries, is that you need to start working on, okay, oh yes, so you're finding yourself, right, spot on. Okay, so what this Aries energy will be encouraging you to do, yes, exactly, to rock that boat. That's right. You have to learn to step into that Aries archetype and ask yourself the question, something along the lines of, I am going to do something about this. I am going to, you have to counteract the Libra energy. And part of that healing for you is realizing that it's not selfish to do something for yourself. Okay, that you're learning about boundaries. So I would say, learn and investigate how to express boundaries and why those boundaries were stopped to begin with, which was, hey, you don't have a choice. So you're learning to realize that you have a choice. And you do that by saying, here's where I stand. And you're learning how to say, here's where I stand, by saying, this is important to me. You learn how to integrate self-respect. So boundaries, self-respect, and that you have agency. Those are the three mechanisms that you need to do. And these are Aries energies. Okay? So does that sort of like lead you to what I'm pointing to? Is that that's the psychology that you have right now. You have to break away from the idea that everybody took up too much space, and in order for you to exist, you needed to put yourself aside. You need to sometimes actually say no to things, even if it feels that the scales are breaking. And thirdly, you have to realize and come to work on yourself to realize that you have agency, which is the capacity to say, this is what I want for myself. Okay? And that takes work. It's not a one-day thing, but that's the direction you want to go into. Okay. Yes, exactly. So as a practice, what I would do is I would say, between now and say Friday or Saturday, notice when your Uranus in the 12th house says, shh, keep quiet, don't say anything. And then do the opposite to that. Yeah, it's a big deal, Jessica. It's not, these are the things that you're doing right now, and many of you have needed to do, is recovering from the current civilization that we've lived in for a long period of time. As a Pluto and Libra, yeah, that's our work. That's why I'm sharing it with you, literally. And you also, the reason why that's the reason why the asserting the boundaries is scary, and they are to protect you, is because the limbic system over long periods of time is designed to keep you part of a tribe. Because if you're not part of that tribe, then you're out and you can't survive. So creating separation means abandonment or betrayal, creating distance. And in the Aquarius age, it's okay to do that because we're not living in tribes anymore, where, you know, if you decide to say to this person, this is not cool, you know, you don't have to interact with that person. Whereas from a biological perspective, the limbic system is still informing our fear of abandonment there. So you're overriding, you know, the redundant or outdated part of our brain's chemistry. See the Aquarius piece come in there. Okay. Anybody got some questions for me? Gonna do this. Where did the chat box go? Come back, chat. There you go. I'm out already, lol. I started Held the Boundary back sitting in 2016. It irritated other demons. Yeah, I bet. This is the link to inquire about astrology mentorship with me, if you want to. Let's see if there's an opportunity, if you're serious about becoming a professional astrologer and you want support in being able to step out into the big world, then that's there. I'm glad that you got something out of that, Ola. It's tough. We're all learning it in different ways. This is part of Aquarius, right? Stepping into that space where we're learning, like going within. Hi, Simon. Thoughts on Saturn transiting the 6th house? Yes. I mean, it's tough with the first thing I'd say to you is this, Celestial. If you got to look at the underlying red thread or karmic pattern in the chart to understand why Saturn would be transiting the 6th. But to me, with Saturn transiting the 6th, would imply that the soul, for all of us, Saturn transiting in Pisces is, hey, each and every one of us has suffered deeply from the illusion of separation from our own connection to self. So Saturn wants to come along and say, hey, this is the ways that you separate from yourself, disown yourself, or separate from yourself, or may not be true to who you are in some way. You may hide that piece. Saturn wants to reveal that. So it's like literally pulling away the curtain and revealing that the Wizard of Oz, the dude that stands there, the Lard Halo, what's his name? Yeah, the wizard itself is just a small little person that's standing at the Lard Halo that gives the impression that he's big. That's what Saturn in Pisces is. It's the exposure. It's drawing away the curtain and realizing that this is just, it's nothing. It's not actually as dangerous as what it was, and we're keeping it hidden. So Saturn through the 6th house will imply, things like, where have you maybe not been clear about things in your life? Where can you put more structure in your life to anchor in or make things real? Where are certain dreams that you may have wanted to have happen, but now transiting the 6th house, Saturn says, okay, come on, kiddo, let's make this happen. So what's that daily routine? What's that daily attitude that you will have to when you wake up and you say, if I do this consistently every day, it may materialize, if that's the gig. If the gig is, I'm learning to, heal out any patterns of addiction, then it's also there. And addiction doesn't have to be the way that's described in our cultures. Like addiction is, I'm stuck with heroin. It's not. Addiction could be a consistent mobile telephone, right? It's just something that you repetitively do consistently over and over that ultimately becomes a destructive force. It disowns and disarms our agency. So yeah, that's what I would say. And of course, understanding the karma of the soul. So what is the karma of the soul? And then insert Saturn in Pisces there. What am I learning to heal within myself? What am I learning to reconnect within myself relative to that story? Okay. So let's do this. I think that's it for me today. Thanks for everyone. I think this is where I'm going to end in terms of the conversation. What are your suggestions for dealing with Saturn moving over the south node in the 5th house? My immediate thoughts to you is that if Saturn's transiting your 5th house in Pisces, then you are going to have to reconcile the relationship. And this is probably, it might resonate with you. It might take some time to land. So listen to it over and over and see how it may play out. But my initial thoughts with Saturn transiting the 5th house for you on the south node is that whatever experiences you had as a child that felt, there's two ways that this happened. Either there was this complete projection onto you of something magical and you needed to live to that ideal and you couldn't, so you lost yourself in the idealization of who you were supposed to be, or the projected ideal that the parents had about you, or that there's an ideal of destiny or fate that you have within yourself that's kind of there. And Saturn Pisces is asking you to be clear about what that may mean for you. So it's actually going back to the earlier parts of your life's experiences and readdressing where you may have lost contact with your resilience, your ability to believe in yourself. And I'm not saying that you don't. I'm saying these are the kinds of dynamics that are going to take out here with Saturn and Pisces in the 5th. Is that you clearly have come into this lifetime with big ideals and dreams, and sometimes those are manifested, and sometimes the world has shut you down in a way where you've lost the ability to believe in that. So what I would say with Saturn transiting the 5th is an opportunity to go back and emotionally recover the parts of you that needed to run away in order to feel safe in an environment that probably felt chaotic. Or on the other side is deal with the idealization of certain destiny or fate or sense of special purpose that hasn't come to fruition, or that you felt that you were doing something meaningful and now it's become redundant, like whatever that is, right? So it's dealing with the idealization of things that stem from your childhood, and it also speaks to reconciling what you really want to do as meaningful things in your life moving forward. That's my 2 cents. Okay, I think that's the last question I'm going to have for us today. So thanks very much, everyone, for saying hello and joining me. Both are true for me, projection and special meaning. Exactly. So you just kind of reconcile, like, what does that mean for you? Like, what's real in terms of your sense of identity, and how can you bring that more into the world? And you may be oscillating between what is meaningless and meaningful in your life. Okay. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. Take care. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll catch you in another live stream. Bye.